Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, May the 21st. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're on the traditional territory of the Masonic people, and I'll call the meeting to order at this time. I'm looking for a motion, please, to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. We have the presentation to start off today from Access Awareness with respect to Access Awareness Day. And so at this time, I'll call on Tara Monroe, please, to the podium.
And push the button for the microphone.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tara Monroe, and I am part of the Access Awareness Committee for Sydney. So National Access Awareness Week was established in 1988 in response to a request from Rick Hansen following his Man in Motion World Tour. Its aim is to bring together, in a spirit of partnership, individuals with disabilities, organizations, and governments to provoke meaningful changes in the daily living of people with disabilities. Promoted province-wide by the Social Planning and Research Council of BC with support of the BC government. Access Awareness Day is ultimately about more than just one day a year. It is a call to respond creatively and purposefully to build a society where barriers to inclusion are removed and to ensure the independence, self-esteem, dignity, and security of all citizens. Locally, former councillor Jeanette Hughes was a tireless advocate for accessibility, and in her honor, each year, an award is presented to celebrate her legacy. The Access Awareness Committee and Beacon Community Services have organized the event for the past 6 years, hosting over 25 local agencies and organizations for an information fair. We start the day, this is the exciting part, with our annual scooter rodeo and parade from Sydney All Care residents, which many of you have been a part of. With a quick stop at Shoals Centre and onwards into the town of Sydney, each year we have over 100 visitors to attend the annual event, where guests gain insight, information on accessibility and support. We very much appreciate the town's financial support in making this event a reality. We are hoping and request that the town declare June 7th, 2019, Access Awareness Day in Sydney through proclamation. We also wish to extend an invitation to all of you, to Mayor and Council, to attend and are thankful for the many years of support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Tara, for the information and for your presentation. We'll just see if anyone on Council has any questions with respect to Access Awareness Day. So hearing none, I want to thank you very much. I take it you said you're hopeful that a proclamation with respect to Access Awareness Day will be addressed by Sydney Council, and so has that request been put forward to staff?
I believe so, yes. I think we've sent a letter in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So
Thank
that'll
you.
be on a future agenda. Thank you very much, Tara, for your time. We have on our agenda nothing under item 4, Administration and Finance, number 5, Parks and Infrastructure, or 6, Protective Services. Now, the next agenda item is number 7 under Development and Planning, and 7A relates to a development variance permit application for 10455 All Bay Road with respect to relaxing the maximum fence height to allow for 2 gates at a single family dwelling. And we have a presentation with respect to this variance application from Mr. Darren Blinko, the applicant. Darren?
Hello, everyone.
You just turned it off.
Is this on?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks for seeing me today. Like you say, my name's Darren Blinko. I live at 1045 All Bay Road. This is my primary residence, and I've been a resident of Sydney for about 21 years. So basically what I'm asking for today, we've put some fencing in, and it's a roadside project that is in question, and I'd like to put in a gate that's over height and a man door. So I've kind of just quickly uploaded this 12-second video. It kind of just gives you an overview of the property. This is the blue house in the middle. The intent here is to kind of give you an idea of overall spectrum of the property. And there we go. Okay, so just for clarification purposes, I had some a couple of different documents sort of floating around in this process. The original gate was built at 1.96, and the man door was built at 1.8. It was previously built because I didn't know that the difference between, I didn't realize that a gate is going to come under the same zoning as a fence. So apparently that's the case. From my understanding, looking at what was issued to me from staff, they can kind of get behind that 1.8 mark. So currently what I have, the man door is at 1.8, but the gate was manufactured at 1.96. So if required, I would bring that down, having them modify that to bring that down to 1.8. So that is the powder-coated aluminum gate as it stands. And I wanted to get some pictures on there because I know that some of the pictures that were forwarded to you weren't very clear. So I've got some additional photos here of the gate. So the fencing's in. There stands the man door off to the left. And it was my intention to kind of just put that door in there just so that anybody and everybody can kind of get a grip on what they're looking at. Obviously, I mean, it could be removed if I had to remove it, but the intent is I'm hoping that it stays. One of the things about the gate that I think everyone should understand is my property is on the low side of the road. So where the gate posts sit is about 23 centimeters below the road height, below the setback. So it isn't an overbearing structure that I'm looking to have placed here, and I think that it's just the architectural look of having the raised gate and the raised door. Wasn't my intention to have this kind of monstrosity that people, wow, what is this guy thinking, you know? So when I think that the fact that it's sitting lower kind of plays into the fact that it's not as overwhelming as you might think. There's the door, a little close up of that. Yeah, just there again, I mean, I'm just attempting to get some kind of curb appeal to this property when I bought it. Just dramatically lacking that. I think that the architectural feature at the roadside does add to a little bit of curb appeal. I just threw this in. I mean, I could take a lot of these pictures. There are quite a few gates around Sydney, more than I actually thought, but this is one at the full 1.96, which is just down the street from me. Obviously more robust, larger looking feature that I'm proposing, but they're down at the end of the street. And what I've done here is taken the previous picture and kind of dropped it in, so if I installed the gate and wrapped it in saran wrap, then that's basically what you'd have right there. So I think it portrays pretty much at the 1.8, because ideally, originally, it would have stood up another 6 inches over the man door. And so I'm hoping that, I'm good with the 1.8. I think, you know, they'll just have to mod that gate and bring it down so that it's all at 1.8 if that's accepted. But I think the architectural, you know, it's architecturally pleasing. You know, it's not overly robust, and that's not the intent, like I say, to have this kind of grandiose feature. Have chatted up with my neighbors. You know, if my neighbors didn't like the idea, I would never have gone forward, you know, with it, because we all get along. And that's it. Thank you very much. And there's my Gizmo and Murphy. They'll benefit from the gate as well. So.
Thanks. If you would just stand by, I'll just make sure that if council have any questions, you've got the opportunity to address them. So I'll turn to council to see if anyone has any questions with respect to this item. Councillor Duncan.
I was just curious. I was very appreciative of the fact that you had spoken to your neighbors and gotten their signature on it. Were there any neighbors that you spoke to who were not in favor of it?
No.
No.
No. There are neighbors that I haven't spoken to, but pretty much I just spoke to the neighbors immediately on either side, and then the neighbor immediately in front of me, and then just sporadically after that, a couple houses down this way and a couple of houses down that way. And so just kind of a mixed bag, and it was just kind of opportunistic. You know, when I saw somebody there, hey, you know, and we chat up the gate, show them a picture, and kind of go like that. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Blinko? Thank you, Darren, very much.
Great.
And at this point, I'll turn to Councillor Garnett.
To staff?
Yeah, please.
Through you to staff. The man gate referred to, or pedestrian gate as it's referred to in the appendix, is it required to be the same height as the fence as well as the gate, the main gates?
Through the chair to Councillor Garnett, yes, any gates in the fence have to follow the zoning requirements, which is in the front yard a maximum height of 1.2 meters or 4 feet. So the variance is for both the vehicle double gate and the single pedestrian gate.
And to your knowledge, the other property that was shown on All Bay at 10493, did they apply for development variance permit, or was that something they just did and nobody's complained, or?
That was several years ago. They obtained a development permit for that house. I can't recall if a variance was issued for the gate offhand. I don't believe one was. That may have happened after the fact.
Okay. Just a couple comments. I
So
drove.
maybe we'll just look for a motion and we'll
Okay,
have some
sure.
discussion on that basis. There's a staff recommendation.
So I'll move that the applicant redesign the proposed gates to a maximum height of 1.8 meters, and that upon submission of a redesigned drawing set, owners and tenants in occupation of property within 75 meters of 10455 All Bay Road be notified regarding development variance permit application number 100282 to increase the permitted height of front yard fence gates from 1.2 meters to 1.8 meters, and that any written correspondence received be forwarded to council at the time of consideration of approval of the variance.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I drove the neighborhood. There aren't many gates along All Bay actually at all, other than the one that they showed up there. I didn't see many. For me, it's too large. I'm actually not in favor of the recommendation by staff. I would prefer to see it stay where we allow. Mainly for me, it's the rationale, although I can appreciate it, and I do commend the applicant for talking to his neighbors. That's a great way to go. It's just the whole, for me, if we use the rationale that's asked for in this, then I'm seeing other people coming with the same request, and at that point, how do we deny somebody else with the same rationale? And it may not fit in with the neighborhood at all. And I don't see this size of fence fitting in with that neighborhood and with the character of the rest of the homes. Just that's my perspective. I'd like to see it stay at the 1.2 meters for both the pedestrian gate and the actual gates itself. So I would not be in favor with the recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Fallon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff, further on what Councillor Garnett asked regarding the other gate, have we given variances throughout the community for gates to be over height?
Through the chair to Councillor Fallett, I can't recall any other variance application for gate height.
Okay, okay. I will commend the proponent who I think presents a very nice looking project. And I also certainly appreciate the effort for the video. I do echo the same concerns that Councillor Garnett has raised, and it's a shame because it's a lovely gate, but I'm concerned of where we go next with this. That's where I'm coming from. So I'm not in favor of the recommendation from staff in this one either. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm leaning towards being okay with the 1.8 for a couple of reasons. It's consistent with what the height for fences is allowed on other parts of the property. And because it's an open style of gate, if it was a solid, front of just wood panels, I might think differently, but because it's just sort of iron, looks like iron rot, or you can see right through it, so you can see through to the property, and it's sort of open, as the staff have indicated. So for those reasons, I think I would be okay with the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess my position on this is I'm okay with it being advertised to hear what the neighbors think. I agree with my colleague, Councillor O'Keefe. I think it would be unacceptable if it was a solid structure, solid gate, but it really is very transparent, so that it's actually, in my view, less dominant than a solid gate of the bylaw height would be. So I believe it was an honest mistake, that he wasn't aware of the requirement when it was made. There'll obviously be a cost of modifying it, which it's his mistake, it's his problem. But if the neighborhood is okay with it, I'm certainly willing to at least consider it. And I won't know what the neighbors really think if we don't advertise it. So I'm okay with advertising it and then making the decision when we get that response.
Thank you. Any further discussion from council? From my perspective, I'm certainly comfortable with the proposal that's here that staff have come up with in the middle. Like Councillor O'Keefe, that height as it relates to fences, I think helps make me somewhat comfortable with this. But also, I think the point that Mr. Blinko raised with respect to the grade, aesthetically and by appearance, helps mitigate what concerns I may have had coming in, and so I'm comfortable with it. At that point, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is 7B. This relates to a development permit application and development variance. Permit application to relax maximum lot coverage in order to construct a small lot single-family dwelling. And we have a presentation by Mr. Brennan Tilden. So I'll call Mr. Tilden to the podium, please.
Hello, everyone. Those are my plans. I don't have a slideshow like the past one here, so I'll try to do my best here. I've never done this before. So we are proposing, when we purchased the lot, me and my wife purchased the lot to build some sort of affordable home in the Sydney area. We didn't know we had to do the whole development permit application, so that was a bit of a shock. We were ready to work on our building drawings and submit for a building permit, but I understand through the orchard area that you have to meet some guidelines. So I'm hoping that the drawings that we have for you guys kind of meet those expectations. We spent a lot of time with the architect at Java Designs to go through all this. So on the any questions, please ask away as I'm going through each page. We're asking for, I believe it's a 4.7% increase on the main floor, given the situation of the lot, of how narrow it is. It was very difficult to put in a traditional family home on the main floor, living room. I don't even think we get a proper dining room area. Like, it might be big enough for about 4 chairs. So just given how narrow and long it is with our setbacks. So given that when we decided to do that, we understand we're taking away from permeable surfaces in the actual landscape. So we decided to do, anywhere where there's any hardscape, we're doing, some brickwork to allow any sort of rain or fall to come through and go right to the ground. Up here we have, there'll be a retaining wall, so any sort of off water from the perm drains. It's not a big area. I think it's about a foot and a half off the east side there. So I've gone over these plans with our neighbor on lot 14 there, and they're quite happy, to be honest with you, that we're building a house there. They said the flight, it will cut down some of the flight noise because we're right over the airspace. So I don't know if there's any questions about the specific site plan anyone has yet, but and then we are doing all the landscape that is traditional to just what you would normally see around Sydney and the peninsula area. So we are open to any other sort of bushes or plants that need to be in the gardenscape to kind of present that same feel across the street or the neighbors, or we just put, I believe, some cedars and some ferns and some flowers, a dogwood tree that you'll see there. So there's also, oh yeah, and then there'll be we're doing a picket fence there that I believe is around not exceeding 2.5 feet, might be 3 feet, just around the front and the side here. So trying to build a home with a white picket fence, I guess. So I just push this button to the right.
You might have to use the mouse on the laptop.
Oh, there we go. This is just a cross section showing the retaining wall that will be over as there's quite not an aggressive slope. It's about 1.5 feet over 2 feet. So in order to maintain that, not have such any sort of water debris coming onto the neighbor's property, we're retaining that area. Don't know how to zoom into that. Sorry. The single car garage would be located at the front of Orchard, and about a 7-foot wide foyer with a closet walking through down the hall to the laundry room, small powder room, 9x10 kitchen, 15-15 living room, and the dining room. This table actually should be up here. It's about 10x13. So as soon as you walk down the stairs, you'll be walking into the dining room. So that is pretty much we tried to reduce it, and it just made for some awkward angles to try to get through the house. But since this land was, it was approved to Sydney for to build a home, we were trying our best to try to fit everything into this tight little area. So. Skip towards the upper floor plan. This is somewhat the colors. The color isn't exact. It didn't turn out the way that we thought. It was kind of hard to find one. This is more of a better representation of the color palette that we're going with. This a nice soft blue, somewhat like what's inside the chambers here, and kind of a creamier upper half with some blue painted cedar shingles in the gables, and giving some detail on the rock posts. We're just doing with a natural K2 stone veneer, which is, I believe, is local to the island, which will be just something with some natural colors like that wrapped around the post, possibly maybe a little bit along the garage, but nothing too crazy. So, side view. I don't have a sample of the cedar. It wasn't dry to bring here. I didn't want to get anyone's hands sticky or my own. But it'll be some cedar shakes, just throwing in that different natural color, and it'll be a very light cedar, just something that you'd see pretty typical on a door. I guess that's it. That's where we are. So.
Thanks, Brendan. I'll just see if council have any questions for you with respect to your request. Mr. Garnett?
Thanks for your presentation. Appreciate it's difficult to work with a lot that shape and size. Just referring to the letter you wrote about affordable traditional style family home, and I'm really appreciative of having a 3-bedroom home that adds some choices for families in our community. Any kind of idea of what the price range when you say affordable?
Yeah, we were looking. It's pretty crazy now, but
Yeah.
the first number that popped in my head when we're finished this home, based off of the square footage that's there, as well as the 3 bedrooms, there is townhouses that are 1,600, 1,500 square feet for the 849 mark. I don't even think that we're going to be hitting that. Like I'm trying to keep this under 8.
Okay.
So at around 799, which I think is quite, like, for traditional family to try to come out, or anybody that wants a house that size to come out sitting in the Orchard area. It's got so many amenities that I think that's a good price point these days. If I was able to get, 3 stories and build a suite and go down, then I would also do that for some affordable housing as well. But it's just, the lot just doesn't handle that. We tried so many schemes to put a main floor bedroom on there. It just doesn't work. The only way that this lot would work is by doing that. So yeah, we'll try to hit that mark if we can. So
You said you spoke to the one neighbor on the one side. Have you engaged any of the other neighbors directly around?
no, I haven't yet. I've only been dealing with just my side neighbor, because there's a hydro,
Right.
there's a aerial trespass that we've dealt with and talked to BC Hydro and got resolved now, so which is great moving forward.
Just something I might encourage you to do as you move along in the process.
Sure.
It just makes for things to move a lot smoother.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
believe.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Just looking at the drawings, and I'm looking in the back area now, there's going to be the side, or the driveway running across the back of the house, and the driveway width is 3 meters, is that correct?
The width?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 3. Well, it's to the setback, so it's about 10 feet. We pushed the
Yeah.
house all the way as far back, and that's more patio, I guess. But we figure it'd be extra parking space to keep a car off a road, or if it was someone else that had a neighbor there. The laneway isn't that large, and I'm not a huge fan of street parking. So I figured if we put permeable surfaces down there, then we can get more visitors off the street parking.
Sorry, I prefer feet, and I didn't actually see, so it does say 10 feet, thank you. And then from the edge of that, is it from the edge of
The edge of the
to
laneway?
the back is 20 feet, or is it from the back of the house to the back property line is 20 feet? I'm not sure of that measurement. Could you say roughly what it is? What,
From this point
no, from that point to the back here, to the property line at the back.
to this to here?
No, to the back, at the end.
Sorry, I'm not following.
You go down, go down.
I don't know.
Sorry. Where is the property line below your hand?
The property line is right here, and there's a fence along that property. So this is the back of the house, this is the laneway, and this is orchard on the front.
Okay, so the entire backyard then is going to be that.
Yeah. We figured since there's a house here and a house here, the other reason why we're doing a rock wall, some drain rock here, is that we're not gonna get a lot of sun, because the house is quite tall here as well as here. So if we ended up putting some grass there or any sort of lawn, I don't think it will grow. It'll become a bit of a marsh. So putting the hardscape there with a lot of water drainage is probably the best way that we thought we could kind of resolve that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council for Mr. Tillman? Seeing none, excuse me. Thanks very much, Brennan.
No problem.
And I'll turn to council now.
I'll move that development variance permit application number DV 100283 and development permit application number DP 100789 to relax maximum lot coverage in order to allow for the construction of a single-family dwelling in the intensive single-family dwelling permit area be forwarded to the Advisory Planning Commission for further review and comment.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Councillor McNeil-Smith. Excuse me, Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in support of this as proposed, and while it is a variance on the lot coverage, there are, as noted in the staff report, numerous examples or several other examples in the neighborhood, and staff may consider taking a look. The requirement was 40% previously, and then was changed to the current, and so staff will may be reviewing that in the future to go back to 40%. Even though that decision isn't made or that isn't confirmed, given those circumstances, I'm in support. But the key one that puts me in support of it is that all 4 variances on all 4 sides of the house conform. And I think that's an indication of the massing and the building on the property itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. I like the look of the house actually, and the way it's set up. It fits in with a lot of the new houses in that area that are being built. But I do have a few questions for staff, if I may. Was reference made to the 35% coverage, and then it was 40% before. When did that change? What year are you familiar with that?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Garnett. That was in 2012, I believe, when the new zoning bylaw was adopted.
And the rationale behind it was?
The previous zoning bylaw had a greater lot coverage and then a bigger restriction on the second floor, that it had to be a smaller percentage of the lower floor. So this has changed that. Now the lot coverage for all residential zones for single family it's 30% for both floors,
right.
But you can increase the ground floor to 35%, provided that the second floor stays at 30% lot coverage.
And we're looking at, as was referred, changing
Bringing
it
back
back.
up. We've seen a number of variances come through council that result in houses that do fit into the neighborhood.
Okay.
So.
Further, if I may. Referring to the driveway portion where it says a portion of each parking space would extend out beyond the property line onto the municipal boulevard, is that normal procedure, or is that normal protocol?
It often happens, especially when you have a small front setback such as this. The minimum front setback in the R1.3 zone is 4.5 meters, just under 15 feet. The minimum depth for a parking space is about 18 feet. So we can't count that driveway space as a parking space, since the back of the car would project out past the property line. But it would function as a parking space. A vehicle parked there would not stick out into the traveling area of the road. It would be back from the paved edge of the road.
Great. Sorry, I got a couple more. I also noticed that on the property there's, towards the back, there's a mature tree that looks quite healthy. So I'm assuming that unfortunately is going to have to be removed. And I'm assuming under the bylaw that would be 2 trees will be replacing it?
Again, through the chair, we'll be taking a closer look at the landscape plan when this is reviewed by the Advisory Planning Commission. If the tree is of a protected size, I don't think it's a protected species, but if it is a protected size, which is 70 centimeters diameter, about 4 feet off the ground, then they would have to go through the tree removal permit process, which does require 2 replacement trees for every 1 protected tree coming out. If it's not of a protected size and it's just a privately owned tree, then no, we wouldn't require replacement trees.
Okay. Last question. So this is just because of who I work for, but there is a row of 4 community mailboxes there directly in front of that property. So have we been in contact with Canada Post? Because I'm assuming they're going to have to be removed. And have they gotten back to you?
Yes, I believe our engineering department staff have been in contact with Canada Post about getting those moved from the frontage of this property to somewhere else in the neighborhood. I can't say exactly where they would be moved to. Our engineering staff would know more about that.
And they've agreed to said move?
Again, I wasn't party to those conversations,
Okay,
but I think they have, because they understand that it was just a vacant parcel and now it's being developed.
I just, from my perspective, I just want to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's with that, because I know they can be sticklers and you can't go forward unless that happens, obviously, because you have no access to the property other than through the lane. So thank you.
Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None. The motion is carried unanimous. Thank you. On this evening's agenda, there is no other business, there is no new business, and there is no motion to go in camera. And so at this point, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
In favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.